I've been taking my own advice over the last few weeks and I've been playing, and I decided that I needed to make a pop-up explosion book using complementary colours. I've just loved doing this, and I'm going to be doing this with my art class in a few weeks' time, but it's just such good fun to make. And that's what we're going to be making today. Welcome if you are new, and welcome back, you lovely ones who've been with me for ages. So, what was that? Oh, something fell off. Anyway, my name is Cate Field. I'm an artist, teacher and speaker, passionate about helping other people just regain their creative spirit. Because sometimes stuff gets in the way, doesn't it? Absolutely. Right, so you want to learn how to make one of these? Let's go. So to make the book, you are going to need 3 squares of black card. I'm using black. I think black works really well. Obviously, you can use whatever colour you want. And I think maybe at the end I'm going to do a bright neon one and see what that looks like. I think this is a good size. It works really well, and it will give you the book that is this size, like that. But you work with whatever you have. You're going to need some card to make the front and back covers, a little bit of ribbon to tie it all together, some glue. Now you can use whatever glue you like. I quite like the Scotch glue, and I like the Yoo-hoo glue as well, so I'll use some of those as well. The card I use is Hawksbill. I really like it. It's great quality. There are links below for all the materials that I use that you could check out if you would like to. So what we're going to do is we're going to start to do some folds. Now it's really important that we get the folds right, so that when we want to open up the book, it kind of works, because that's always a good thing, isn't it? So we're going to start by carefully folding in half along one edge. Now, I have a bone folder, but you don't have to have one. You can just use your fingers. And we're just going to do one fold. Now, some demonstrations, you might see some instructors, some teachers will say that you need to fold it back again on itself. I don't do that, and you'll see why at the end. So we're having that one there, still keeping this valley shape, and we're going to fold it again like that. Again, I'm just going to do that. You could just use your finger. That would be fine. So there we have our cross in the middle. Now we're going to flip it over so we have a peak, like a mountain. Sorry, I teach this with my children, so I'm with my young people when I'm in the classes here. So forgive my terminology sometimes. And what we're going to do is then fold it in half again on the diagonal. Just line it up with those corners as accurately as you can, and that's going to be our first one. Now, if we've done this correctly, is you'll get these end bits folding in like that, and then it all folds together. So let's just open that up again like that, and you're going to do that for all 3, and then I'm going to change the camera angle so that you can see what happens next. So you will have your 3 folded like this. Now I put them like this so that you can see the triangles at the bottom, because this bit's really important when we start to put them together. And so you can see those. We're going to take this middle one and we're going to turn it round. So this might be a bit that you kind of go back on because it's a little bit sort of not intuitive. You have to try and work it out. So that's how it was at the beginning. We've got those three with the triangles there and like the two feet, and then we're going to turn that one round, that one in the middle. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take this end one and slip that one over there, and then we're going to take this one and slip, oh, here we go, that one over there. So we fold them together like this, and that is what makes, oh, here we go, like that. That's what makes it all work. So I'm just going to spread it all out so that you can see it in a different way. I know we all learn in different ways, so don't worry if you're really confused. It looks much more complicated than it actually is. So I'm just going to spread these out just so that you can see. Let's just put that one there and then that one there. And then I'm just going to turn the camera over. So we have our three pieces, and this is the one that's in the middle. And can you see that this has the peak on the diagonal, and these two have the trough, the valley on the diagonal. This is really important. And then what you're going to do is to stick that one onto there. If I flatten it out, you'll see. And then that one onto there. And this is where I'm just going to use my glue stick to stick them on. You could use double-sided tape as well. But the important thing is that you have a valley, then a mountain, and then a valley. Okay, I hope you've got that one. If not, you just have to wind it back again and have another look. So I'm just going to put my glue on this square here in the corner. Just put it to the edges. Line that up like that. And then just squash it down. That one. And then with this one, I'm going to do exactly the same. Put my glue down. There we go. And pop that one up there. Now, when I do this with my younger children, well, and some of the older ones actually, we will work on a little scrap piece of paper to get the folds practiced, because it does take a little bit of time. But the most important bit is that you get this valley, mountain, valley bit, and then we are ready to decorate. Now you might want to just redo your folds a little bit as we start to kind of pull it together. When we get those, once you've folded it in a few times, it will just go in quite easily. Let's just do that. That's where that little bit of glue was. Let's do it there. And then it all folds down into a square. Let's just open it all up. And we are ready to do our covers. Now, I like to do the covers a little bit bigger. Let's just get the edge of that one. You can see that the cover is a bit bigger. I'm going to show you how to do that next. So I've got my bit of card. It needs to be quite substantial, I think, to make a good book cover. And it needs to be a little bit bigger than these squares. So these squares are now 10, I think they're 4 inches or 10 centimetres. And we're just going to make it just a little bit bigger. So I would say probably 1/4 of an inch or 1/2 centimetre bigger. Let's just put one there, one there. line them up, and then you can cut it with craft knife, and obviously you're going to make 2 of those. Let's just go across there. Don't mind, it's about 11 and a half. I'm going to cut them with a craft knife, and then we've got those all ready. And what I'm going to be doing is covering them with some of these, and I'm going to show you how to make those as well. So I'm going to start with my bright colours, my fluorescent orange, yellow and pink, and I'm going to put it onto 2 sheets of the wallpaper lining. I've just put my palette here. I'm going to use mark making tools. I'm going to use a bit of sponge, toilet roll, bit of cork, and anything else that I see lying around, really. I'm not taking this too seriously, as you've probably guessed, because what I want to do is play. Oh, excuse me. Right, I'm just using my cork here just to put some paint down. It just sort of, when we use tools other than brushes, it helps us to free up a little bit, not take ourselves too seriously. Let's just sort of put some marks down here. So I'm making these papers, and then I'm going to cut them up to put into the explosion book. Let me just might change the name of explosion books. It's a bit violent, doesn't it? Kind of a pop-up. It's a pop-up, pop-out book. Pop-out, pop-up. I don't know, what do you think? Do you think of another name that's not quite so violent? So I'm liking this. I'm just having fun, playing, putting down the marks. The paint is it's quite thick. You could use poster paint as well. Yeah, that would work. Yeah, this will take a little while to dry. But while it's drying, I'll make another one in the other colours. Oh, it's just. I am going to go right to the edges. I'm just going to move that other piece out of the way, because I want to cut these up, and I'll be using these in the book, but there will be stuff left over as well, so I will use those in collage. I might use them as book covers. That could be good. It could be fun. There's a lump in that bit of paint. Let's put that on there. So it's very loose. I'm going to leave it to dry, and then I will just do a couple of other bits on top once it's dry before I cut it out. So let's just put that one to one side. I'm going to choose my next lot of colours, which are going to be the lime greens, and I'm still using that fluorescent yellow as well, bit of blue, bit of green. So I've popped them on there, and I'm going to use this sort of spongy thing just to start putting some paint onto the surface. Gives it a different sort of texture. Again, I'm not thinking about it too much, because I know that these colours are going to work together. I know that already. So this is why having a bit of knowledge about the colour wheel, it kind of frees you up a little bit, because you know that these colours are going to work. Just going to pop this one in now. Just going to pop some circles in. And I really encourage you to make your own mark making tools with all sorts of bits and pieces. And you're never quite sure what patterns are going to come out, and it's just fun. Just fun. Let's just have a little bit of that green there. Again, like the other one, I'm going to the edges. It's fun. I think you can probably tell that I'm enjoying this. I also really love teaching this sort of thing because I find that it helps to free up my students, who, whether there are my students online or whether they are in the classroom, but they can get really restricted by worrying about making mistakes, worrying about making a mess, just having these ideas of what it should look like. Whereas this is just pure pleasure because you're just playing. You're just putting down your colours and just seeing what happens. It's that what if. What if I do that? And yeah, that actually might not work, but it might work. Okay, I'm going to leave that one now. Leave that one to dry with the other one, and then we're on to the next step. Now I want to make some covers for the book, and the covers are going to be made of card, but they need to then be covered. So I'm going to use this rice paper. You could use tissue paper. Have something that's quite thin, so it's easy to wrap around. I'm just going to use the leftover bits on here. You have to be a little bit more careful with tissue paper or rice paper because it will tear. But I'm doing a similar sort of thing to create a bit of decorative tissue paper for my cover. And what I'm going to do on the books, one side will be this sort of bright neon orange and pink and yellow, and the other one will be the blues and lime greens. I'm just doing it in the middle of this because that's where I'm going to have the cover of my book. But I'm just thinking about another technique that I will show you. Oh, there we go. I'm just going to leave that one to dry. I'm just going to get another sheet of tissue paper. I'm going to use these colours. I've just got an ordinary kitchen sponge, a soft brush. I'm just going to put a bit of paint on to the sponge. Like this. It's just a few bits on like that. Mix that one in, and then I'm just going to use this as a stamp. That's quite fun, isn't it? I think that yeah, all of these are the sort of techniques that you probably did when you were little, like with a potato. Do you remember doing potato printing? Who remembers doing potato printing? Oh, I think I need to do potato printing. Now I'm just using this sponge again, a little bit careful on the tissue. I'm only doing it in the middle because that's the bit that I'm going to use. I quite like that effect. I'm going to leave that one to dry. These won't take very long. I'll just peg that one up on the washing line that is in my studio. I have a bit of leftover paint, so I'm just going to use a bit of newsprint paper to make a few more collage pieces. Again, I'm just dipping it using my sponge. I'm just going to hold the stencil down. You could always use tape, you know, if you've got stencils. I always use my leftover paints. I never ever throw it away, and I've always got collage papers to use. Let's just lift that one up like that, kind of combining the colours. I'm just going to do a bit of overlapping here. Like that. If you haven't checked out my stencils tutorial, I will link it. You can have a look at that one. That was fun. I enjoyed doing that one. Actually, I enjoy doing all of them. I hope that comes across. There we go. Let's do that. And I might use this in this particular project, but I might not. So I'm just going to just go straight in and do a bit of that leftover pink that was in there. Just that little hint. That's quite pretty, isn't it? Let's do a little bit the edge there. Newsprint is great for making collage papers because it's thin, but it's actually quite tough. Let me just, oh, that's quite nice, liking that. Again, don't add any water. On there, and I will use that. I might use it for this project, or I might use it for something else. So I've got my two pieces here, all lovely and dry, and I've got my two bits of card. And what I'm going to do is to put one on each. Now, I've decided that I'm going to do complementary colours for this pop-up book. You can choose whatever you want. It's yours. So I'm just going to plonk that in the middle. I'm just going to use my ruler to trim up the edges. Like this. Let's just pop that on there. So obviously this explosion pop-up book is... you can use it for so many things, and I've used it for mounting the work of my photography students. I've got getting them to put together some ideas, just as another sketchbook, another way of presenting work. Because with the pop-up book, you can also actually hang it on the wall, and that can look great. It's just such a lovely thing. And I'm sure that you've got lots and lots of ideas of what you can do. Let's just put in those corners. This is why it's really nice to use the rice paper or the tissue paper, because you can get your corners folded in really nicely without it being too bulky. Let's just do that. You could use it as a journal, and I've seen people put photographs in it and have it as a sort of a gift, as a keepsake, and that's just beautiful as well. It's really nice. So I'm sure you've got lots and lots of ideas of what you could do. Perhaps you'd like to share them with us. Let us know in the comments of what you think you might do with your little book. There we go. Like that. So you can see I'm just sort of folding folding down the edges, and I'll do the same for the other side, but I'll also put in the ribbon, and we'll do that. We'll make a decision on which one we want to be on the front and which one on the back, and then we can add our ribbon. So I'm just folding that one down there, press those down, and that is all ready to go, and I'll do the same with the orange pinky one as well. So I've got my two pieces here, and I've got a bit of ribbon that was left over. Just going to cut it in half. You could use string if you wanted to. Let's just turn that one over, and we're just going to attach the ribbon to the back of the card, just with a bit of masking tape actually, because it's going to be covered up with the pop-up book, so it won't, the masking tape won't show at all. Right, so they are all ready to go, and what we're going to do now is get our book. It's going to be opening out like this, so that bit is going to be the front and that bit's going to be the back. I'm just going to put a bit of glue on here and stick that on there. Again, I'm just using ordinary glue stick. You could use double-sided tape if you want to. Let's just go around the edges here. There we go. And it doesn't really matter which way round it goes, because when it opens up it all sort of flops out anyway. So just going to press that down there, and I'm just going to put some glue on the back here. This one, it's just really important that we just sort of line them up together. Just move it like that, and then what I do now is I'll put a piece of paper over the top and then plonk a load of books to squish it down for probably about an hour. And I've got these two pieces that I did earlier, all lovely and dry now, and I'm going to work on them at the same time. I've got a palette of pink and sort of magenta and of blue and green. I'm going to swap them over. We're going to have some fun actually. Let's start with this one. I'm going to use my toilet roll as my mark maker, and on here I'm going to just put just a few circles, just sort of in the sort of the contrasting, the complementary colours. Let's just sort of move that around, overlapping some of them. Now this paper is going to be cut up, so I am going to go to the edges. So I think that's going to be quite important. Just putting a few on there. Sort of do a few rolls, make a few different marks, just a few on that one. I'm going to do similar. Let's just move that one over a little bit. On here, let's get some of that fluorescent pink, shall we? And, just make some marks on the page. Again, just sort of playing with the idea and making different marks. I'm making a bit of a mess, actually. It's quite nice. It's always quite nice to make a bit of a mess, isn't it? Let's do that like that one. And then I've got my cork. And I'm just going to take my cork and do some marks for the edges. Let's just go down this bit here like that. Ooh. And then I will leave those to dry for a little bit. I might put some more circles on this one. I seem to have mislaid my other cork, but I will do that in a moment. And then what we're going to do is to start to cut up these pieces to place into our pop-up book. So we're going to start to put some lovely pieces into our book. Now if we open this up, you'll see that there are 4 squares, and then 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. So we've got 12 triangle pieces and 4 squares. And what you want to do is to make your shapes, your squares that are going to go in, it's just slightly smaller. Now these were 10 centimetres, and so I'm going to make these 9. So in Imperial there'll be about 3.5 inches. Okay, so we're going to start to cut those out now. Now I find it's easier to use a template, and I'm just going to look at some interesting shapes here that I'm going to cut my squares out. I'm going to have 2 squares from this sheet and 2 squares from that one. So I'm just going to put it here. I've just got my white pencil here. Just going to put that there and that there. And again, you sort of cut this out. I'm just going to cut these out with scissors, but you could use a craft knife. Let's just do that there. So you're going to cut out, let's just do that one there, 4 squares that are going to go in that centre piece. So I've cut 2 from that one and 2 from that one. Put those to one side, and now I'm just going to flip these pieces over. We're not going to, I don't want to really sort of be thinking about it too much, because we are just going to cut out some more squares to create our 12 triangles. And all we're going to do is we're going to use the template that we had before, not thinking about it too much because it won't matter. They are my kind of important ones. So let's just put this as a template there, and then I'm just going to get my ruler and sort of just draw that one over there, and I'm going to cut out all of the squares, and then we're going to cut them into triangles and put them into the book. So I've cut all these ones out. These are the 4 that I've put aside. And what you're going to do now is just to cut on the diagonal. So just line that one up like that. And we just cut it out. So we get our 2 triangles, and you're going to do that for all of the others. Now ideally you want to have 6 triangles of each colour, but if you haven't got enough for that, you might have some extra bits, and what you could do is to do half a triangle. So if I show you on this one where I ran out, and I just put 1 triangle on one side and then 2 on the other, and that can work really well, and look, it can look good. So let's get these ready, and we're going to start to put our pieces onto the page. So just sort of open it up, and the first thing we're going to do is to put in the squares. Now because I wanted to do this as sort of complementary colours and contrasting colours, I want to put my pink ones here and my greeny blue ones like this. I think that would work quite well. I'm kind of starting off with this sort of green and then coming through to the pink. And then what I'm going to do is to put these in, and you can just sort of move them around and see which ones look good. ones round there, like that. And then these ones go like this. Can you see how that's coming together? Like that. That one will go in there. And there. And then these last two will go, oh, I seem to have mislaid a triangle. There it is, the triangle. So it will end up like that. So I'm just going to stick all of those in, and then I'm going to show you the little neon one that I made. So it's all finished, and all of the pieces are there, and they all curl back up again. I really enjoyed doing that one. That was good. Now, the neon. You might want to put your sunshades on for this one. It actually worked out quite well. There's a few spaces there. I had some leftover bits and pieces, but I thought, yeah, who doesn't like a bit of neon? So I've got those two all done. I really hope you enjoyed that. I just loved it, and I know that my students are going to love it as well. And I'll probably post a few things that they do on the Facebook group or on the community tab. So if you want to see some more and follow along with some other things, you could look at this one or this one. And I'll see you next time. Bye bye.